I don't want to be mean, but like that Walz guy is a creep. I'm just telling you that as someone who went to boarding school in the 80s. Like, I know exactly who that guy is. And I'm sorry. It's just, I hope I'm wrong. I don't think I am.
I mean,
And
honestly, Tucker, why is he so obsessed with transing children, making it possible for them to separate from their parents and have their body parts chopped off? Hello?
yeah, well, I lived in a boys' dorm in a New England boarding school in the 1980s with a lot of guys like Tim Walz. Okay. So I saw that guy and I'm like, oh, wow, I know exactly. You're a creeper, as we used to call him, for sure. And, I guess I probably shouldn't. I definitely shouldn't suggest what I'm suggesting without evidence. I don't have evidence beyond what I've seen. So I just want to say that I'm probably, again,
Do you mean like a pervert? Like, I don't, when you say creepy, like,
there's something wrong with that guy. He's a weirdo. And you can tell watching him. And I'm sorry, I've just lived long enough that I know that your gut level perceptions are rooted in truth. They're not always precisely true. I've gotten many things wrong. Like, the details are unknown to me, but I look at that guy and I'm like, you're a weirdo. And everyone's like, no, he's so normal. No, not normal. Sorry. And so,
there's another thing. There's another thing about Tim Walz that hasn't gotten as much airtime, and it's true. He actually did remove. They were coming up with the Minnesota human rights law and revising it, renewing it. This class is protected. You can't discriminate against these people, and you can't discriminate against gays and lesbians. And the law had said, to be clear, pedophiles get no protection under this law. Pedophiles do not fall under the definition of a protected class. And they removed that language. They removed that language under Tim Walz. That the pedophiles, so it made it more ambiguous. Now, some of the LGBTQ community said, well, we removed that because we don't want to be associated with it. We don't need to say that right after you're talking about gay people. We shouldn't even be in the same breath as pedophiles. But it did make it more ambiguous. And some objected, saying, why would we take this out and make it less clear that we're not trying to protect pedophiles? In any event, it remained out and Tim Walz signed that bill. I'm not saying he's a pedophile. I'm just saying you don't hear about this stuff from the mainstream media because they're so determined to tell us he's our dad.
And by the way, what is he doing in a high school setting with children, talking to them about their sex lives? Like, that's just prima facie wrong. It's totally wrong. And a healthy society would not tolerate that. You are not allowed to have teachers talking to kids about their sex lives. And I don't care if you're saying, oh, they're bullied. Okay. But you're still, adults are not allowed to get involved in the sex lives of children unless they're the parents of those children, period.
He started the LGBTQ alliance.
I just disagree with the entire thing. The gay straight alliance, like, are you an anti-gay bigot? Well, of course I'm not an anti-gay bigot. I am just against, across the board, creepy teachers talking to other people's children about those children's sex lives. That is totally wrong. And that is, I think that's criminally adjacent. Actually, I think it's a crime. And I don't think any normal father would put up with that. And you sort of wonder, like, where are the dads here saying, you talk to my child about his sex life one more time, I'm going to hurt you. That's the healthy response. Like, no. And I've just been around a lot. And again, I went to boarding school. I've seen this stuff. That is totally wrong. And who would do that? If somebody said to me, there are kids in our school being bullied because of their sex lives, I'd be like, well, I'm totally opposed to bullying and cruelty and meanness. Yes. But no, I'm not going to sit around and talk to children about who they have sex with, because that's creepy. It's totally creepy. And no one can say
wants
that.
To introduce that topic to children. Even in the private setting, it's difficult enough when you have a parental obligation at some point to discuss it. In the school setting, when it's somebody else's kid, I mean, it's such a disgusting line to cross. But yes, he's crossed a few. I totally agree.
And the guy's like, oh no, I'm proud of that. No, you should be ashamed. It should not be allowed. It is the standard now in all schools where the school therapist or the nurse or some creepy football coach like Tim Walz gets to talk to your kids about their sex lives. And I would just say, no, that crosses a line. That line ends with, like, if you allow that line to be crossed, adults will have sex with kids. Okay. That is true. I'm not accusing Tim Walz of doing that. I have seen that personally, again, being in a boarding school where that happened. I'm just going to mentor you and talk to you about your sexual identity struggles. And he's end up sleeping with a kid. Like, that's why we don't allow that. That's why I would never allow.
No, there's no question. There's no question that inappropriate sexual discussions with children is grooming. That it just is. And I realize they say, oh, they're bullied and we want to talk to them about sex. It's not for you to do. It's not for you to do. And certainly not at the younger ages. That's for the parents to do, if at all. I mean, like, that's up to a mom and dad to discuss when and in what way those topics are discussed